Here is our game loop, and we're looping through each frame, calculating our XY coordinates, rendering, and then pausing for a delta t period of time. But we need to calculate this delta t, and it's done by finding the difference in time between your frame time and the time to render. To do that, you need to find out the time when rendering starts, and I'll take a time measurement at the end of the last frame, here, TLF. And if we look at our loop, this is where you can take your time measurement at the end of a loop. The next time measurement you need to take is at the end of your render, and I've labelled it time end of render here. And inside our loop, this is where you take your end of render time. But what about for the very first loop? There is no last frame, so you need to initialize your last frame time, and you do that outside of the loop. And finally, here's your calculation. So your delta t is equal to your frame time, and in my case it's 1/15, minus the difference between your end of render and the time in the last frame. And you use this delta time twice. You first pause for delta t, and then in the next loop, you use that delta t to update your physics, calculate your x and y's before you render again. And then you do the same process again to calculate this delta t. And here's the complete pseudocode that we're going to be implementing. You initialize last frame time by getting the system time. You set delta t equal to 0. You run through the loop, your updates and your draw and your rendering. You calculate your delta t, which is 1/15, and the difference between the current system time and the last frame which you've initialized. You then pause and sleep for delta t, and then you take your last frame measurement and you start the loop again. You render, now you have the last frame time, current system time, you calculate delta t again, you pause for delta t, then again in the next loop, you update your xy coordinates using that delta t, draw, and so on and so on. And in the next tutorial, we'll start to implement it in Android. Thanks for watching.